Yeah, you're recording.
Thank you. All right, let's call to order the Board of Trustees meeting of Hideaway the Hills Club on June 16, 2020. Note for the record, this is being conducted both in person and video conference. We have separated ourselves, social distancing, for the purposes of this, and the group is only 9 people. So we are 9 people in person here, so we're following all the regulations. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda you have in front of you?
Moved.
Don Martin moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Weibel seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for the President's report tonight, we will, with the President's report tonight, rather than going on with it, I would like to introduce the board candidates who are going to be calling in on WebEx as well. We're asked them to limit their comments to 2 minutes apiece as they speak. 3 people will be calling in, correct, Annie?
Correct.
3 will be calling in, or 4 will be calling in.
3. Aaron said he was not able to make it.
Yeah, but Linda is calling.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So Linda will be also speaking. So we have 2 of the candidates here in person, and the other 4 will be. Who do we have lined up? Cheryl, I know, is on. Is Marty? Marty was scheduled first, wasn't he?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bendoka, would you like to address the board, please? Introduce yourselves and talk to us.
Sure. Good evening. And thanks, everybody, for allowing me to come in here and introduce myself to you. And I know this 2 minutes is going to be quick, and I got a lot to cover. So I just want to tell you a quick story of who I am and how did I get here. I'm originally from the Cleveland area, and graduating from high school, I joined the Navy, where I spent 9 years. During that time, I ended up meeting the love of my life, Cheryl. Since July of '86, we've been together and haven't looked back on that decision at all. We have 4 great kids. We've got 2 boys, 2 girls. And we have 2 amazing grandchildren by the oldest one, who is currently stationed in Connecticut and is serving in the Navy. The 2 middle kids are living up in the Cleveland area. After graduating college, they moved back there. And the other one just finished her freshman year down at OU. On a professional level, after I got out, I went on and got my Bachelor of Electrical Engineering from Cleveland State. So working full-time, going to school, and that was not easy, but it was a great decision. I spent a lot of time working as an engineer for Rockwell Automation, and have worked on projects all across the world. I'm currently working for a company that specializes in testing and commissioning of substations for utilities. Some of my hobbies and things like that are pretty much anything outside, hiking, fishing, golfing. Used to ski a lot, camped a lot. Found out about a year and a half ago that tent camping is pretty much past me at this point in life, and so, but still enjoy getting out there. And if I'm, lucky enough to get selected on here, I really look forward to serving the community in any way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we appreciate your interest in the job, and welcome to Hideaway Hills. I know you've been here only about 6 months, and so obviously you're getting involved, and it's a great thing to see.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. The next person who's on the list, who I believe is still online. Cheryl, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, because you disappeared off the bottom of my screen, so
Oh, do
very
you
good.
see me? Can you see me?
We do not. I can now.
Okay.
Everybody else? All right. Please go forward.
Okay, my name is Cheryl Burnside. My husband Mike and I have lived in Hideaway Hills for over 9 years now. And over the years, we've absolutely come to love it here. Of course, the amenities and location are great, but what has truly captured our hearts are the people. We've made friends for a lifetime here. I've been a member of the social committee for 8 years. Last year, I arranged the ladies' night activities And 2 years ago, I gave conflict resolution training to the security guards. A little bit about my professional background. I have many years of leadership experience. I worked as a senior leader at the Eddie Bauer Distribution Center for over 21 years. During our busy time of years, I had over 3,000 senior leaders and associates reporting to me. I now have my own successful professional health coaching business. I wanted to read a short quote from Margaret Mead because I think it's appropriate for tonight. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And I wanted to read that because I believe that the board cannot create the change that we seek alone. As a trustee, I will provide an environment where every member feels heard and valued by making myself available to all members, as well as offer improved methods of communication. I am very passionate about finding a solution for the lodge and clubhouse. This will take an effort on all of our parts, and I'm determined to see it through. I believe the safety of our homes, lakes, and roads is extremely important, and we'll find alternative solutions. And finally, I want to support our amazing committees so they can continue to do the work that makes Hideaway Hills the resort that it is. I am excited to get started, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. That's really nice to hear, and look forward to hearing more from you as we go through this whole process. Thanks for putting your name out there, too. The community depends upon us all pulling together and working on it without any question. You're welcome. The next person is Cabot. I believe I saw his face come across the screen. Yes, indeed. Cabot Ray. 3 minutes, Cabot.
3 for me. Thank you. We've just grown.
I'm sorry, 2. I've been looking at 3 on my screen, hoping that people stay within 3. So 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Go ahead.
Oh, golly. And no teleprompter either. That's tough for me, but I'll do my best here. Yeah, my name is Cabot. My name is Cabot Ray. We have been a member of this community for 10 years, 5 years full-time down here. I have loved this place. It was a getaway for me in my earlier years when I was a news anchor in Columbus for about 25 years there. And it was a wonderful way to get down here and decompress and have a great weekend. And we came to love this place. We came to love the place, as Cheryl mentioned, not just for the things, but the people and the involvement of the community as volunteers. I want to say that the first time I came to this wonderful place, we were just looking around a little bit, called Doug Parker, wound up coming here, and he showed us some homes in October of 2009. We spent that evening then, the leaves are beautiful, and we go to the lodge, and we sat in the little pub area there, and we had dinner, and we looked around, and we said, you know, this could be a place would love to call home. And that lodge has meant so much to us over the years. Now, there are so many great amenities here, and I would want to try to be very even-handed with all of them. But the fact of the matter is that the lodge continues to be the great gathering place 12 months of the year for social and community involvement activities. You think about the Sweethearts Dance, the Valentine's Day dance, the father-daughter dance. You think about the Christmas Eve services I've been a part of over the years, and all the other activities and events that happen there. That lodge needs to get reopened. I think we can do it. I think we can find ways to cut costs and through compromise, and we need to compromise, but with the goal of getting the lodge reopened, and then with that, building momentum to finish some of the other projects, the deck, which will be amazing when it's done, and so forth. And we can do that. We can get it done. I've talked to some people in that business who've had experience who would be willing to come aboard and join me in pursuits of getting that done. Of course, there are many other things to be a part of here at Hideaway Hills. I served on many boards. I was on the board of trustees for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Franklin County, Special Olympics of Ohio. I was on the board of trustees at Otterbein University and several other groups as well. So I've had a little bit of experience with that. But the main thing is to harness the new energy that is here, that can propel Hideaway Hills forward into the future. And so I hope that I am allowed to be a part of that with some many other very able-bodied people to get this done as we look down the road to the future. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much. Again, appreciate it. It was gratifying to see how many new people actually applied to be on the board this year. And I think it's certainly the most that I've known since I've been here, and I appreciate your personal investment.
Thank you, Jim.
Next is,
I think we're just doing alphabetical, which would be you,
Okay.
and then Eric, and Linda.
all right, somebody else watch me to make sure. No, I'll look at it. My name is Jim Krieger. I moved here in 2009. My wife Melissa and I did. We bought a small 3-bedroom cabin at that time. After 4 years, similarly, we'd had such a great time here enjoying the people, the places, the things, and decided that we wanted to invest a little deeper and do a little more. So we bought a home, a year-round home in 2013 where we've lived ever since and been quite happy. The first year I was here, I asked to volunteer. I asked some of the folks on the management committee. I did a project on the management committee. And in the middle of 2010, when another fellow decided to resign from the committee and I was asked to join. About 2 months later, 3 months later, there was a sort of a transition in the leadership role and I was asked to become the chair of the management committee. I served in the remainder of that year and then I served 2 full terms in the management committee following that. It was some fairly interesting times, obviously. Hideaway Hills got bigger, better. Things improved, and of course we had to fix the lake, and we did a wonderful job on it. I mean, I marvel when I would walk by that, and I'm grateful to people who committed to doing that. Then 3 years ago, I was term limited on the management committee, and so I decided to run for the board. Subsequently, I was the vice president the first year, and then I've been the president the last 2 years. We got to open the lodge. I hated closing the lodge. We didn't close the lodge. We suspended operations. We've got to figure out a way to do it. The assessment increase is going to be absolutely essential. There's no getting around it. And I'm committed to those things as well and moving forward on that level. That's pretty close to 2 minutes for me. So I'm done.
My name is Eric Black. I've been an 18-year member of Hideaway Hills. I've served 3 years on the Board of Trustees, and 2 of those actually as secretary. Learned how Hideaway Hills.
Can't hear.
I think I'll start again.
You will. I'll restart. I will restart the clock.
Okay. Let me start again. My name is Eric Black. I've been an 18-year member here at Hideaway Hills, serving the last 3 years on the Board of Trustees, 2 of those as the secretary. And in that time, I think I've learned how Hideaway Hills works. One of the main things that I found is that projects out here do not get done unless they have a champion. And I wanted to go and cover some of the projects that I've actually championed or been very involved in. First is actually having these board meetings live streamed. Next is we actually have a Hideaway Hills calendar that everybody can have on their cell phones and so forth and see what projects are coming up. Management committee is now live streaming there, so I'm going to have a hand in that. I headed up an ad hoc committee to bring the board and management and our emergency services together to try to do something about improving our emergency response times here. I was actually part of, myself and Scott Martin created the original deck plan, and had our plans approved by ACC and a physical engineer before Jim Krieger and his group took that over. On the food service policy, that's probably the most latest one. In addition, we now have clubhouse. Unfortunately, the pandemic on that. Additional revenue into our clubhouse. Probably one of the things I'm most proud about is we now have a Sunday liquor license. Clubhouse. Obviously, it took a large effort from a lot of people, and we actually got a vote to approve and vote on that. Last thing, I'm very engaged with the whole thing. Future projects I'd like to see are actually technology committee. They would oversee maybe the creation of a Hideaway Hills app, things to be done with an app to make here a little bit better. I'd like to see us look into getting Wi-Fi back entirely for season. To the outdoor span, and that's something I think could be done very simply. Also get us online billing. You can pay your assessments or pay you need to online. And of course, reopen. And I'm happy to continue to champion these search projects, but I need your vote. Next annual meeting, and please vote for Eric Clapp. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Eric. Linda Lonsinger, are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know how well everyone can hear me, but I had a really hard time hearing Eric. So
We're fine. Around here in the room, I think you're fine, Linda. You're on a speakerphone.
okay, thank you. My name's Linda Lonsinger. Ooh,
Hi, Eric.
oh, that was a lot of feedback.
I think that might have been me. I thought it was off, and I'm on. I think I'm on mute now. So sorry.
Shall I start again?
Yes, you should.
Okay. My name's Linda Lonsinger. I have been a member since 1993. We built our first home in 1995. I have loved living here, and I love the community. And it has been, I guess, my honor, to use that term, to be a member of the board for almost 4 years now. This last year, I've been the vice president of the board. It's a busy board. There's a lot of stuff going on, and more than I ever even anticipated prior to being on the board. I'm also the board rep to the Lakes Committee, as well as the Architectural Control Committee, and I'm a member of the Constitution Committee. I care about all of our amenities. I too would like to see the lodge reopened. And I don't know the best combination for it to be successful, but there are people who know a lot more than me that are working on this issue a lot of their time. But I do know that we need the right food options, we need the right hours of operation, as well as I think maybe an enhancement to our ambiance there, make it a little more inviting.
Mm-hmm.
I am concerned about our green space. Looking forward, here as a community, I think we need to be very conscious about how we develop so that we maintain our green space, that we maintain our wooded environment, and we protect our natural amenities, such as the lakes. I think that's all very important. We're a different community from other lakes communities in that we are the only lakes community that has all private wells and private septics, except for one, which is much smaller than us. I am concerned about moving forward the adequacy of our fire and emergency services. I think that we should put our creative minds toward trying to enhance those services. I believe that's important. I will always care about this community, and I plan to stay here a lot longer. So I guess that's about it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. That concludes the entertainment portion of the meeting for tonight.
Wait a minute, I had a couple of songs.
You can mute your mic anytime. So that being said, I appreciate everybody jumping on today. We will post this on the YouTube channel so that people will be able to see it. Obviously, there's been one e-blast going out. There's going to be a couple more sets of questions which will be in the Echo. that'll be coming out the July Echo. Look forward to that, and then there'll be more questions and answers following up that for the August Echo. Of course, everything leading up to the election in August, which will be the third Sunday in August. We haven't figured out exactly what the format will be yet. We've ordered a lot of absentee ballots, assuming that many people will want to do that, but I think we're also going to try to make sure that there at least is some availability for people to vote in person as well, depending upon how all this stuff works out. Obviously, my crystal ball is no more clear than anybody else's, but that's the hope that we have, is that we can try to keep this as close to normal as we possibly can. With that, let's go on with the meeting. The next thing on the agenda is correspondence. Annie, do we have any correspondences?
We do not have any correspondence.
All righty. Everyone has the minutes in front of them from last month's meeting.
The one I took in front of you is April, but I have May.
Okay.
We'll already talk about tonight.
Okay.
That's just for your physical signature.
Okay. And
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the May 19th Board of Trustees meeting minutes.
I'll second.
second by Jim Lloyd. Any questions of Annie? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All righty. Mr. Weibel, a treasurer's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Total committee funds, passed, did you hear that? Total committee funds in the Benton County National Bank as of May 31st, 2020, $126,735.10. I'd like to make the motion that this treasurer's report be approved.
We have a motion, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question on this before we do that.
Okay, well, if we second, and then we can.
I'll second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion?
Thank you. Boyd's going to ask a mathematician question. Look out. I'm confused on the report that you have where all the money comes from, to which means student fund fellowship shows $55,000 of May 31, and then 16,000. I think I figured it out myself. Or 17,000 spent. Okay. It didn't show up on the checking, and like I said,
I know it's
boy should just shut up when it comes to money and this type of thing. But at least I figured it out. Thank you.
Any further questions of Tim at all?
Would you like to discuss it some more with yourself, Jim?
That's one thing when you're at home. You don't have
That's why I want to be in person.
There is that ability, yes. Jim, we don't get enough of our quota at giving Jim shit. I'm sorry. Giving Jim garbage. I didn't say that. Any further questions of Tim?
All like this, I'm sorry I brought it up.
All right, all in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Being none opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Sigafus, in person here tonight. Yep, for the first time in the whole meeting that you are the chair. Please.
Not sure what I got into.
I could have told you.
All right, thank you. Management committee opening, Dan Donovan is elected to lead the committee on June 30th, 2020. We will be following our standard procedure to review candidates for this position.
Hey, Jim, can he put his computer towards him and speak into it so we can hear out here? Thanks. Thank you, Jim.
We have to do this, so hopefully this doesn't go sideways.
All right, can you hear me now? All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Management committee opening, Dan Donovan, elected to lead the committee on June 30th, 2020. We will be following our standard process to review the candidates for this position.
The pool opened on June 1st with several health restrictions as required by the Hocking County Health Department. Hopefully these lighten up as the summer goes on. Heard some positives, some negatives to that.
There's a lot of feedback.
You getting feedback?
Yeah, we're getting echo and feedback. People,
Yeah.
can people mute their microphones?
Yes, we can, but I think it's probably, I'm muted.
I'm muted now.
Turn your mic off.
Echoing back through people's computers.
How's that? Is that better?
Is that better?
I think so.
All right. Lodge kitchen usage. We've had some caterers inquire about using our kitchen. This will open us up to health department inspection. At this time, the committee is not comfortable renting out the kitchen to caterers. The clubhouse generator is supposed to be done as the safety bollards are now installed. Then we can get the final inspection. The original plans did not have the bollards in the plan, so the club had to pay for those and hook up the gas lines ourselves. Food trucks, the office will continue to gather the necessary paperwork for the trucks. I'm wanting to get someone on the food service committee to be the point person for scheduling. I think it makes more sense to kind of better understand how to not compete at the clubhouse. So I'll work with some people on the food service committee. Hopefully we can make that the point person and make this a successful program. Clubhouse staffing, we have hired another person at the clubhouse, allowing us to continue to expand hours. Sales are trending up with Saturdays coming in over $1,000 each. I know Eric, you talked about maybe open on Sundays. That might be a possibility, at least maybe for bar. Then we get more people hired. Package delivery. Security is receiving over 400 to 600 packages per week. With our current budget situation, we cannot afford a part-time person just to do packages. We need to work toward a longer-term solution to this issue. However, in the meantime, the management committee is proposing a $2 per package charge to the membership charged on your assignment to help cover the cost of the part-time employee just to manage packages. Obviously, this will require Board of Trustees to approve that. I'm hoping to convene the food services committee soon, probably early July, to begin discussing a 5-year plan for the lodge and reopening the lodge bar. So we can do that with the social distancing guidelines or another plan. I did put together a 5-year plan that I shared with the MAG committee on Sunday. I will send it out to everyone on the board just to start looking at it, thinking about it. HAH road plan, I did send that out to all the board members today. Committee member Rex Eberle has put together a draft of 5-year plan for the HAH roads. It's just a draft at this point, but it's to start a comprehensive plan to maintain our roads. Looking at everything from chip and seal ourselves to hiring it out to doing more patching with the asphalt to widening our ditches and sweeping and trying to maintain the roads we have.
I got it.
Did you not get it?
Fairly late.
4-ish. I'll double check for a second that you got it. The Lap Investments. I'll double check. Let me check. Brewery, committee member JJ Jeffers is going to meet with the HAH brewer to discuss the operations and long-term plans for the brewery. One of the situations we're having right now is we're not selling that. It didn't help. We had COVID shut down for a little while there. We're not selling enough our beer that we've actually had to throw away a keg or 2 from November's brew. And so the amount of beer we brew upstairs is in excess space to what we can use. So it's a huge system and it makes a lot of beer at once. So then we got to try to use it without the lodge being open and the clubhouse being shuttered for a while. We
are not using up the beer we need to use up. So it's a food product and it does go bad. So I'll check. You got that email. Any questions?
I think it's more request than a question. I'm going to use the exact example, but it's happened quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but it happened. Management makes decisions, and it's a decision. They'll talk about the decision. The members find out about it.
There is all kind of feedback and echoing. I don't know what you're saying. I think that's Jim Lloyd.
Lloyd's talking.
Randy, are you able to mute everyone that's not speaking since you're the host? Do you know how to do that, Randy?
Not everybody, no. I've been muting myself, but I don't know how to mute everybody.
Since you're host, you're able to control that. And it might help because people who are calling in, theirs aren't muted, even though the people on computers are. Annie, do you know how to tell them, Annie, how to do it?
I turned my mic off. Does that make any difference? Can you hear me?
Did that stop it?
Stop it?
It's better, but it's echoing. So when people have their microphones on and the calling people, it echoes if you're in the same room. Couldn't hear you.
Why don't you just turn the microphone?
Like Jim Lloyd, if he can mute his phone, that might help. I think Tim might be on the other person.
No, Lloyd's now muted.
And Tim?
It's muted. Randy, Annie's muted.
Randy,
I'm up next, so I didn't mute.
Right. Tim, is Tim muted?
Tim's not on.
He's not on. He's just listening.
Call in is the conference phone in here.
Yeah, we're down just to board members now, so.
All right, let's try it. See what happens.
Okay,
Back.
let's try. Yeah.
Okay. I guess everybody can hear me. Well, they can in here anyway. It would be nice if the board members didn't get a phone call and had no idea what happened. It happened with the like I said, the latest one was with the pool. And then again, last week we had a resignation and bang, we didn't know anything about it. And blast goes out to the members, we get a call, who resigned? I don't know. If you could just get some of the, it looks like there's something going to be a blast. Make sure the board members know about it so when they get called, they can answer.
Yeah, it's definitely the pool was on me. It got out before we had a chance to share that and let everyone know it's going to go out. So that's clearly on me. Management committee change, Jim and I got to take on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I found out about it that meeting, and unfortunately, we should have waited a day for the notice. Yeah. Any question? I mean.
I hear you, Jim.
Okay. Yeah. That, like I said,
I was surprised. I actually was surprised that it went out. Randy was too earnestly quick on that one because Dan actually resigned at the end of in the executive session of the management committee, which was at about 9:30 at night, and then and it was the e-blast was out the next day, first thing in the morning. And we should have gotten that out to you. But.
Yeah, it happens.
I think we're just looking for clarification.
Sure.
I would always try. Okay.
How are we doing for sound, guys? Is it better now? Mary Beth, are you right?
It's not echoing, so it's better from that perspective. But when somebody talks, like Jim Sigafus or Eric just spoke, it's good if they turn their microphone on just when they're speaking and then turn it back off.
Okay.
So the echoes are good, but it's helpful if you can turn your mics on just when you're speaking and then turn it back off.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Jim, how are you?
Jim, how are you staffed on security right now?
Randy's gonna cover, I asked
Okay.
Randy to cover that.
Okay.
Jim, I had a member reach out to me on this. We raised our price on beer to $3.25 at the clubhouse. That was a pretty big jump, wasn't it? And I mean, what was the impetus for that?
Jim Kirk, before he left, had done a study on all the beer prices, and Miller Lite and Ultra had not been raised. You know, I'm gonna ask J.J. Jeffers to go pull the price list and kind of look at what we are charging, because I did not know. I didn't even know the cost till Chris told me some of them today. So we're gonna look at the cost and what the pricing is.
Okay.
Maybe make some adjustments to that.
Great.
So part of it is there's lead price.
Some happy hours, I think it's Friday night, and then some days it's regular price. So, I mean, I support the lead pricing because it's not volume and trying to keep all of these guys, you know, just sitting there. The leads tend to drink, you know, consume more. So, we are gonna look at the prices and see if some of the beer prices are a little high. So, I'm gonna ask J.J. Jeffers if you'll go take that on, so. Thank you. There's a beer. I'm a beer drinker too. I'm a Canadian as well as anybody else. So, but I think we do that. We've got to try to care for it. Sure. Any other questions?
Are you getting any sense of what the profit loss is looking at the clubhouse at this point?
No, I haven't seen the numbers. I can tell you the sales have been trending up. Even, you know, Tuesday nights when we first opened, we're doing $200, $300. I think this week, I have to look, but we did like $400 or $500. Saturdays we're getting over $1,000 the last couple of Saturdays. Even Monday night, just texted me the numbers. With just alcohol sales, and we did. Mondays. Oh, $617 on Monday night, just alcohol sales. I mean, I think we might have a little bit of food. That's probably mostly Eric's money. So.
I'd like to take credit, but I'm pretty sure that was Bob Sorrell.
So, and that's spectacular on Monday night for having one employee. So, sales are trending up. I mean, we're doing well. So,
well, good.
I'm happy with that. We're just trying to manage staffing and when to be open and try to stay close to break even.
Monday nights, all like that, we can seriously break even. So, Eric, this went out.
appinvest@gmail.com. That's it. 3:26 p.m. Thanks.
Yeah, take a look at it. I think everybody that looked at Rex's proposal was quite impressed with the amount of both detail and.
Keep in mind, it's a draft. It's just something to start talking about, but it's still a lot of work. He's driving a lot of the roads, looking for what's the map out, like where we really have the biggest issues. $180,000 a year is really not enough money to really maintain the roads the right way, but.
Jim, can you turn your microphone on when you're talking? Thanks.
I'm not the only Jim who has a quiet voice in this room.
Just turn it off when you're done. On, off.
It is a draft, and we're still talking about it and looking at the best way to maintain our roads for the limited amount of funds we have. So I think Rex did a very good job on that. Anything else?
Nope. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Swetnam, could you join us?
Thank you,
please,
Mr.
and
President.
Give us your report.
All right. Delinquency totals as of May 2020 was 19,748. And as of June, they went down just a touch, 19,202. The roads were in May were $1,700, and in June they went up $40 to $1,740. As far as the delinquency list, I think it was great because there was only 2 on the 60-day, and one of those was paid, and there was 3 on the 60-day dam assessment account, and 2 of those have paid, and there was nobody on the roads for 60 days. So that's a really good thing we're keeping track of. Dam assessment total of $185,108 as of yesterday. As you know, we had an issue with the storm there the other May 29th where the tree came down on Cato Court. We had an issue of getting people there to make those repairs. A call was made to PUCO and a complaint was put in, and I heard back right away the next day from Frontier and again from their supervisor and with an apology. And so we were it's recourse with that. We also got some emergency telephone numbers that we can when this happens again, we have security can use them to get a hold of the correct people when there's an issue. Also, we had a broken lake buoy, and then also a member that complained because his buoy had been moved. So we ordered 2 additional buoys, and they will be in here within the next week or so to replace the one that was broken, and then we'll have 1 additional buoy if we need it. Something that's going around here the last couple of days was this donation for sand. One of our members graciously put on Facebook the need for sand, and it just blew up. And so she's got more money than she knows what to do with. And so we're going to get the Lakes Committee involved with that. And I've talked to Sue, and I think Sue has been in contact with Linda. And so we're going to get that resolved so we can do that in proper accounting practices in order to get that under control. But we will have new sand on the beach here within the next week or so. Also, with the resignation of Jim Kirk from the Management Committee, we will need somebody else to fill that void on the delinquency panel. So I would hope that Greg, since I believe he's the person for that committee, will ask around to see if we can get somebody else to fill in on that panel. We typically are not meeting as often as we did. We're meeting about 1 quarter as needed. So we do need another member to fill that void. And last but not least, I want to talk about a little bit about security staffing. We are 1.5 guards short at this point, and we do have ads out there. We had 4 interviews scheduled for the other day, and 2 of the people showed up. When I contacted them back about taking the position, they both had new jobs that they'd already committed to. So that was very unfortunate. I did put another ad out there today in the Logan Daily. We've got one in Indeed, and then both Job and Family Services. And so hopefully we can get somebody back on staff there before too long. Lake Patrol, we're doing the best we can with Lake Patrol. They're covering a half hour between shifts on either side of either shift. It's what they're doing, and they're going out as needed. And so they're covering as much as they possibly can without bringing on too much overtime and with a staff that we have available. And that's all I have for right now. Any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the one point that Jim talked about a little bit earlier, which was the idea of a user fee or a charge for packages. I think that's something we need to probably begin to talk more in the community about, because of the impact on security. I did take the step of checking with Jeff Spangler, and he felt that that the board would be empowered if it chose to go that route to enact that charge, because the packages are not an amenity, and that we would be able to charge people on a per package basis as they come in. Again, Jim, he felt it's not that we necessarily want to do it, that's a whole nother discussion. But if given the cost of it and the fact that it's, package handling isn't anywhere mentioned in any of our code or anything else, that, we can.
A lot of feedback.
Disagree with Jeff, which is
We
the
need
first
to
thing
mute.
you can do as a lawyer. But I think.
Yeah, I did talk with him before when Jim and Jim were beginning to talk about the management committee to make sure that he felt that, I didn't want to go down that road if it was going to require a code change. And he did not believe that it was a code change issue. I just wanted to share that.
I'll just say that, it's a dollars issue because we gotta have a part-time person there, and it's a space issue. I don't know if you guys looked in that little shed, that was supposed to be temporary. At the time, we thought we could build a new security building, but that, those days they have to pile stuff outside because there's just no room for stuff. 600 packages a week, you can imagine that.
You need to mute your microphone if you're not speaking, please.
You can imagine that when TVs show up and tires and hot tub covers, that we just have no space for stuff, let alone making 400 to 600 phone calls a week for people to come get their packages. It's continuing to get worse, and I can't imagine what Christmas is going to look like down there. So we're continuing to look at other options, but I don't have the magic crystal ball.
Can you turn off your mic? Somebody?
We're trying to figure it out.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry, I had my thing muted and my speakers on. Anyway, I was just saying that we don't have the long-term solution yet. There is no crystal ball answer to fixing the package problem. But 400 to 600 packages a week, you can imagine in that shed. There's just nowhere to put them. There's making 400 calls a week to members to come get their packages is daunting, and two guards can't handle that much work. And so that's why we're asking, to look at $2 a package to cover a part-time person, make phone calls, take packages in, and distribute packages. So
$1,200 a week for a part-time guard?
I don't know what the hours are, but ideally.
600 times 2 is 1,200, pretty easy math. You can build a new guardhouse with that.
Some of it's going to go to a guard. We size-wise, you can do the math. There's just no room for the stuff that's there.
I understand.
It was just a nice round number we threw out there. We didn't want to try to still people, but we want to make it enough to pay for the part-time person and some to go toward the long-term solution, which
I think there's a lot more staff work.
Security building that's more efficient to get packages out. But
Is this something we can vote on today? Or are we putting it on agenda for next month to maybe talk about?
I think it might be a discussion, to be honest, but just wanted to float the idea.
Yeah, I think Mary Beth, it needs a lot more staff work in terms of, as Scott said, what's the right amount, how many ways to go about it, how much work it'll be, how we'll get it all done. But we wanted to, Jim had talked about it and wanted to get it out there and let the discussion begin. So, but no, I don't think it's a finished topic at all. Great.
Yeah, I didn't put it on there. It was more so a discussion topic. That the package volume during COVID-19 just took off, and I don't suspect it's going to drop off anytime soon. So
I'd kind of like to add this a little bit. Rules state that everybody pays equally. The code states that. I think actually it's in the deed restrictions. several years ago, the board took it upon themselves to charge everybody $170 that had a public dock. It was against the code. This is basically on a much smaller basis, the same thing. It had an amenity, but you're charging members for, what are you gonna do if they don't pay the $2? You gonna send it back? In other words,
No, it's gonna get charged, we'll write it down, they'll get charged under assessment.
well, and if they don't pay it, I'm not against it, don't get me wrong, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I don't think you can do that per the code, the deed restrictions.
Well, that's why I went to Jeff to ask him about it.
Well, he may not understand the deed restrictions, he should understand it, but he may not.
We were both looking at them at the same time.
Okay, and he says you can do that.
That was his explicit answer to me, because I asked him what we were doing, and I talked to him about it similarly. I used the same example that you just gave us, the dock and other things that were there. And I said, but, this has just exploded on us, and we can't cover it, within the current funding profile that we've got. But it's not being used by everybody. So a lot of people, weekend people, don't use it at all. Yeah. And then other people do. And some people use it all the time. Some people are running businesses through here and having things delivered. So there's a vast difference in terms of what the packages were. We're recording, at this point, we're recording every package that comes in. So we're already going through that step so that information is there. So, whether you could probably do a scanner with it. There's other different ways you could do that, and you would have it. And then, so that was, and again, no decisions have been made. We need to look at it.
Well, I'm just pointing out that.
No, I understand.
You're walking a very fine line.
That's why I was, as soon as we started talking about it, both Jim and Jim, were talking about it, and I said, well, I don't want to go down this road till we get some advice whether or not we can even go there. I mean, we can still choose not to go there. Don't get me wrong.
If it's legal, something's got to be done. But I'm not sure it's legal.
Okay.
What's the short answer? If you want a short answer as to why we don't let FedEx and UPS deliver to the house? I don't know that I've ever heard that answer.
I was gonna ask the same question.
I got this discussion prior to go.
Here.
I guess it was tried years ago, and the UPS trucks, specifically them, but those bigger trucks could not get up many of the hills, and they definitely couldn't get up the driveways. So they were just dumping packages at the bottom of the driveways. This is Paul Heimberger was here when that experiment was tried, and you get over in the north side or west side of the lake, it gets really steep, and their trucks couldn't get up and down. We've talked about opening it back up and not accepting packages. I think that once you do that, it's careful what you ask for. If UPS truck gets stuck over there and we're all, I don't know. We're actually looking at that might be an option.
What about the width of it too? You got a UPS truck comes bad enough.
Like at my house, he'd be throwing them out on Yana Lane. I'm sure they wouldn't come down my hill.
They wouldn't come down the driveways or up to the driveways, so they're just going to dump them, especially in the winter.
They'll take them back, and then then I'll have to go pick them up somewhere else. But and we looked at that too. Is coming up like with one of those Amazon buildings or whatever that you can do, but we'd have to pay for it.
It's about $100,000 to buy one of those locker systems. And Jim, I guess we're providing a service to the members, not so much paying for an amenity, but
the lodge for the docks.
Yeah, and that's.
Think about it, Jim. We really do the same thing at the bar. We pay for the amenities at the bar, but they don't give us the beer for free.
That is actually what Spangler said. We were talking. There you go. Because he said, he said you do charge for beer, don't you?
Yeah, I have a question. Temporarily, we couldn't put the
packages here
in the creek. A lot more room, and
you have to pay somebody
to sit down and use the phone and call, okay? Or I think it's probably the volunteers to work that.
We talked about the volunteers, and there's huge privacy issues because we get a vast amount of medicines delivered. And they looked into that, and even the volunteers said, "Oh, I get it. We can't do that because you start violating HIPAA laws really quick." if you put them up here, you have to have somebody here to those hours, like security's open, to distribute to the packages. If, if Eric works all day and comes home, wants to get his package, well, if you only are here 3 to 5, that doesn't work. So it's convenient to have it at security where they're open and can hand them out. It's just not convenient for the space. We bought that shed, or we rented it initially, thinking that would be a 6 month to a year project. Then we'd move it up to the golf course to store chemicals. But it's painted now. It's part of the building, unfortunately. So.
Okay, well, let's move on. Because there's a lot more to go on this. So, but your point is duly noted, Jim, and we'll follow up with that some more, for sure. Anything further for Randy or Jim? All right, let's move on to committee business and reports. Mr. Weibel, let's start with you today.
I guess the only thing, Jim, you guys found a replacement for your position as the off-road vehicle chairman?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
I'm still a bit of a.
So, and obviously with the COVID situation, social committee's kind of stuck in place.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they, open it up for us.
Yeah.
That'll be the question. Stay tuned. I don't know, with the change in leadership of the Department of Health, whether that'll matter or not. But again, that's the large group meetings are still. What's the status? I know Mike had signed contracts with folks. What happens with that?
Well, I mean, we canceled the initial one back at Memorial Day, and it was very well understood. The second artist actually canceled.
I remember Mike had said that, yeah.
So I guess the next one is not until sometime in July.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, as of now, it's
okay.
Just wait to see if something changes.
Okay. Well, it'd be great if we could, that's for sure. I mean, if the prohibition ends. All right, no fund requests or anything?
Nothing that hasn't been already
e-voted. Cool. Thank you. Annie?
And
People know the long-range planning committee has finished the trail in Area 54. The pool is finally making a little bit of progress. They've got their pipe in place, and they are expecting to have the retaining wall started here soon, hopefully as early as tomorrow with the contractor.
Thank you. Back from North Carolina. Anything happening?
No, the golf committee, the league has started, and they are holding events. The health and wellness committee, the building's enclosed, and continue to work on that. Tennis and pickleball, of course, are getting a lot of fun.
Cool. Thank you. Greg?
Chapel, having the chapel services at the chapel, they just ask the people to spread out and go up on the grass. It's working out very well. So they have to not to use the amphitheater. Garden, where all the plots are taken at this point in time, and we're developing an area that we had to reclaim because it got some passages in it, and we may have more plots next year.
Eric?
All I have is utility committee. This is from Eric Boystow. They would like to create a web page. They're looking for somebody out there that would be able to help them develop a web page. And they would like to be able to, on that web page, put out their updates, gas studies, tower updates, or anything else they're working on. So if there's anybody out there that can help them out, they would appreciate it. Please contact Eric Boystow. And then as far as the South Central Power and burying our lines and everything, he said there really has been no updates, and in his opinion, it'd be August before we would start. That's all I got.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
Nothing. All right.
Yeah, for errors.
Mr. Lloyd.
Use that button
right there.
The Bridge Committee,
Nothing.
on the Airport Committee, the concert code, we'd like to find out how to do it. number one, and, I don't see why we couldn't do it, because the social distancing, except on your vote. So I guess I need, number one, permission to do it.
I guess that would be, what do people think? You're right, I don't think it would fit into the 300 issue or group, and I'm hopeful that'll be somewhat relaxed anyway fairly soon.
And I'll make a motion, but I don't know the date because the Hillbilly Deluxe, I believe, was the name of the band, and they had a commitment on Sunday of Memorial Labor Day weekend, which we've done it the last 2 years. So they'll have to pick up a date. But I'll make a motion that we can have the concert in the Cove with the date and time to be in that.
Second.
Is that going to be at Fleeman's again?
I don't know. It'll be in one of the codes.
Okay. There's a second. Any further discussion, questions, thoughts? What do you?
I couldn't hear the motion. There was too much feedback and echoing, so.
Okay, the motion is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is at a date and time to be determined that the range committee, airport committee would like to begin planning for a concert in one of the coves on the lake. Well, assuming that we can get, that it's acceptable with all the restrictions in the lake as we move forward. That's the motion, and it was second. Jim made the motion and Scott seconded it, and we're now at the point of discussion. Anything further? All right, let's take a vote on authorizing basically exploration of them to find out time, place, and band, and sometime around the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, probably the weekend before.
Okay.
They just don't know.
Okay. Basically, it's a hunting license for them to go forward and come up with a plan, assuming that the regulations of the state would not prohibit it at that time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, I've turned my mic off. Can they hear me out there in La La Land?
Linda's nodding her head yes. Are you okay, Mary Beth? Can you hear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll just leave my microphone off. We would also like to have the air show as we had last year on October 10th from 9 a.m. until, and I don't think there's anything that would, as far as the COVID-19, that would block that either, because that's completely social distancing. And the only thing is we would be ferrying the pilots and their guests up to the clubhouse for breakfast or lunch or whatever they wanted.
What's the date again?
October 10th from 9 a.m. until.
Okay. 9 a.m. until.
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Scott seconds. Any discussion? Again, I don't think there's any, given the current status, it seems it would fit within what the regulations are. We'll see what happens. Things could change. Any further discussion about it? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. All right, anything further?
That's all I got.
Okay. Regarding the delinquency committee, Jim, just so I was thinking about that, usually there's somebody from the management committee.
I'll ask the guys.
Yeah, if anybody wants to do it. That's, we always had the position that Kirk, he wanted to do it himself. And so.
Jim, I have a committee question. Who is sponsoring the boat parade? Have we approved that already?
I just heard about it today.
Okay.
For the first time.
Yeah, I saw it out there. I don't remember ever having a discussion or.
I'm just going to bring that up in open forum.
Well, we're in open forum.
Yeah, we just.
Why don't we let's move to open forum. Staying on procedure here. No, I just similar, there was an email that sort of came in. I think what I've gathered for, Linda knows more about than anybody, don't you, Linda?
About what in particular, Jim?
Oh, we're talking about the boat parade and the details of that.
I still have the Lakes Committee to report on.
Oh, I'm sorry. God, I didn't go ask you and Mary Beth. It slipped my mind. We can go there right now. Okay.
Do I have my answer?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys weren't here and out of sight, out of mind. Go ahead, Linda. Could you give us the Lakes Committee, please?
Yes, a member has come forward and would like to do a parade on July 4th from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. It would be a boat parade. There would be a first, second, and third place prize awarded. The prizes would be paid for by the Lakes Committee, but this is a member-driven sponsored event. It's not sponsored by the Lakes Committee. No one is asking to have the no wake zone be free of boats, nor is anyone asking for the lake to be cleared for this boat parade. So that's the information as I know it for that. The only thing that I would like is not an e-vote, but a vote for the Lakes Committee to use their funds to pay for the 3 trophies, which amounts to $47.21.
I think when I looked at the email that came in this afternoon, it's going to be the judges are going to be on the 718 or lot 718 or 719, which is right in where the house is slipped, close to the dam on that side. So it would be on the east side of the lake, and it's being hosted by the members who live there. Is that the idea?
It's Beth Blue is the one who's involved that got it started, and that may be her home. I don't know. I can look quickly.
It is.
Okay.
I already looked. It is.
All right.
So they don't want anything special. It's just the Lakes Committee is going to chip in on some trophies.
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions on that?
I remember it was somewhat different, but I remember somebody had something all planned for up here in the great room on a Sunday without permission and bringing people in and this type of thing. May not be the same thing, and the board was we reluctantly let them do it, but they put it all together before they asked permission.
I think that was because they were using our equipment and some of our foodstuffs and things like that.
It could be. I just remembered that.
Yeah.
As long as there's no restrictions being placed on any other boaters.
Well, there is. There's a no wake zone. They're asking for no wake.
He said they're not asking.
They're not asking. Yeah.
If they were, I would have been very upset with their procedure as to how this all took place. Along the same lines, the beach sand, the way that evolved, I just think they got the cart before the horse, and the fact that the Lakes Committee has gotten involved already in it. I think there needs to be a proper procedure in place before we start announcing all of this stuff on social media and assuming that everything's going to be approved without the board even being involved. I think we need to be. The reason I say that is, and again, I don't know if you watch social media or not, Jim, but
no, I tend not.
Especially with that beach deal, all of a sudden people were bringing up, well, here we are donating money for the beach, and we donated money for the lodge deck, and that isn't done yet. We donated money for the Health and Wellness Center, and that isn't done yet. Now we're donating money for the beach.
I agree. I think I'll take it another step further. In terms of best practices, when you're donating, you want to go to. I mean, people have now donated just to a person and not to the club.
I know.
So because that question came to me, and I've been involved in several programs in the past with people where I'm not wanting to cast aspersions on anyone, but if you don't have a proper accounting procedure where it comes in, where Penny's receiving it, you're looking at it, it's being deposited, and all those things are happening. Problems happen. They just do.
Well, I think going forward, we need to come up with some sort of a rule, if you will, as, okay, if a member wants to go forward with something, some sort of a volunteer project or suggest some sort of an activity, they just don't jump on social media and go for it.
We have a rule against soliciting in the hills, do we not? Is that only door-to-door soliciting, or is that soliciting?
I think our rule really predates any Facebook.
Yeah, of course it does. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
So after I said, I gave money to the band, but I was going, I don't think this is right, but my granddaughter plays on the beach, so I gave her the money.
Yeah.
You know, when we repaired that lane going up to the dam, we came to the board before we ever started.
Yeah, no.
I think it just.
Did she not ask Randy, and Randy gave her that way to go? Is that what I read in the post on Facebook?
I think she caught Randy totally off guard too.
Randy, are you there? Randy?
Yes, I heard that. Yeah, she came to me and I said, well, yeah, put it out there. I never dreamed that anything would be as big as it came.
So she did come to you initially, Randy, before she ever
she did. Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She did.
I look at that a little bit different, just in the point that I wouldn't want to stop our members from coming up with ways to improve Hideaway Hills.
I agree.
And I think maybe, you're right, Scott put money in, I'm like, I can't let Scott be the only one, I put money in. And now I'm thinking back, you're right, what we should have done is we should have as somebody who's on Facebook, we should have probably jumped in and said, hey.
And I didn't do that until they started talking about picnic tables and fire pits, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute now, this isn't just replacing what we've had, this is going to all new stuff. So I said maybe they should go through the Lakes Committee, and I guess that's what
I think that would be an appropriate way placed. I mean, yes.
I mean,
they've gone to the Lakes Committee, and the Lakes Committee came up. I mean, we know the Lakes Committee follows the rules.
right. Well, we could have e-voted. I don't think maybe she didn't know it was going to go back quick either.
Correct, yeah.
A lot of my discussion, if you want to look at it in a selfish way, is this could become a nightmare for the treasurer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. She's got all the money. I told her it would protect her to run it through the club.
Absolutely it would. Let's actually, we got the question. This is a good conversation, but Linda's got a motion to spend 30 or what? How much was it, Linda?
1 second.
How much was it that you wanted?
$47.21 for trophies.
Scott seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, everything carries. Okay. Now, Linda, do you have any, because we can come back to this, do you have anything further from the Lakes Committee?
One more thing, and this is, I need a vote to approve the Lakes Committee paying lake restoration for copper sulfate to clear the water at Lake Deerfoot. I believe, Tim, Susan was going to send you the committee activity report as well as the invoice. Or Randy, I think you already have the invoice. But anyway.
Yes, I do, and I sent that to Sue.
Okay, so I would, if you may, I would like the motion for the lakes to pay the $140.91 to Lake Restoration for copper sulfate.
I'll second.
Jim Lloyd seconds, and for those of you that, it's the chemical that you put in, it kills all the algae, so it just clears up the surface of the lake.
Kill the fish?
As long as you don't put it all in one line. You can't deplete the oxygen level, just pound it hard, but if you distribute it properly, it won't go anything.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, that passes. Okay. Yes, Mary Beth.
Thank you. Ginger wanted me to let people know that the Lancaster Festival is canceled due to COVID. And that she will be starting fall of 2021 for the 2021 and 22 directory. So that was her report. And regarding the barn, Field 1 over at the barn apparently is not equine friendly. It's overwhelmed with weeds, and they're reporting it's an ecological mess. So they've had to shut down that field. They think it'll take about a year to get it back up and running. They are down 3 spots in the barn. So I think they're sort of seeking out information about how to to fix this problem. So if the 3 additional spots in the barn are taken, that they'll have all the fields operating. So I do think at some point there'll be a request for funds, and I think they're sort of looking for how to fix the field and other restoration type things at the barn. But I don't think they're at a point right now where they're requesting any funds or anything like that at this stage. But they did want me to report to you that Field 1 is shut down. It's going to take a while to get that back.
I could help with their field, restoring it. Maybe we could talk offline.
Perfect.
But I'm just offering that up.
Thank you, Linda. I think they'd be open to that. Angie Ryan is who wrote to me today about this. And I do think she was going to contact the 5-year planning committee as well for some ideas she had. But with regards to that field, that'd be great. Let's talk offline about that.
Thank you. Do we want to return to the question of how to deal with social media and initiatives that start there at this point?
Let me get with Linda real quick first, Jim, because I did interrupt. I think she was also probably going to ask for a vote for the Lakes Committee to do something with that sand and gravel for that beach project that she did not mention. I saw that I think it was in my treasurer's information today. Linda, wasn't there a Lakes Committee request for funds for purchasing sand and gravel or hauling it or something?
What I understand is Tiffany's going to bring the money to Randy. Actually, Randy, I think you need to back up and talk with her again, but I believe she's going to bring the money into the club office. It will be deposited into the Lakes Committee fund, and from there, invoices will be paid by the Lakes Committee. But I don't know that I'm prepared tonight to ask for a vote on the invoices.
Okay.
That's helpful.
How much did they raise? 7,000 something. That last time I looked, and that was yesterday or the day before.
It is. How much did we spend in the past, Randy, to put sand on the beach?
She had an estimate of 4,000.
Last year we spent $1,776. That was
Okay.
40. That was 40 ton with hauling.
That was just last year. We did a purchase last year.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know that we need to solve this tonight, but I think my sense is the procedure of running this through the club is the right procedure, both for the members and then also for us to have some control over what's going on.
Well, all Randy's got to do is just tell them you'll have to take that before the board.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
If they come to him, wouldn't that almost have been similar to creating an ad hoc committee for that?
What, for the
beach?
The beach?
Yeah.
I would think so.
We talked about it in the past, and we had thought that it might be the beach would be, because the club has always bought the sand and done the work on the beach for the most part. And we talked to Lakes about it, and I don't think, help me out here, I don't think they were all excited about being in charge of the beach during that time.
I don't remember any conversation.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, we just didn't go there, and so then, and so this, you know, completely took off on us. So,
Well, there's something out on social media right now about creating a beach committee, which if somebody that wants to come to the board and say they'd like to do it, and, I mean, at this point, what's one more committee?
No.
It's hard,
I know.
it's hard, I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fine, and it could be a subcommittee off of, or with the Lakes, or they could partner. I mean, either way, I think makes sense.
Well, it would, eliminate, that would give them indemnity.
Mm-hmm. Also
if
true.
anything happened.
Yeah, it's
Like on the boat parade,
yeah. That is true. All right, let's talk a little further about it, Randy, and we'll try to figure out a way to get that out to people and make sure that they know that going forward, if they, you know, especially if they're doing work on one of our amenities, that it would really be helpful for them to coordinate with you, and if there's going to be something, an effort like this, that they really need to come to the board to start the initiative.
I totally agree.
All righty. Good deal. So I guess we've closed open forum at this point. Anything further? All right, let's go on then. Assessment increase planning. Annie, could you handle this one for us?
Yeah, and Mary Beth, feel free to chime in. So as Jim Sigafus mentioned, MAG met this past Sunday, and we reviewed some recommendations from him around timing of our funds becoming healthy again based upon current spend, and also as it relates to the assessment, as well as he mentioned, a draft proposal for reopening the lodge that he said he would share with the rest of the board tonight. So the committee there's a subcommittee forming out of MAG that Jim and I think Mary Beth are gonna help spearhead. Oh, put me if I'm wrong. And then they have started to form that subcommittee in order to do phone campaigns, print, and other types of campaigns.
Mary Beth, do you have anything to add to that?
That sounds like a lot of pressure.
None intended.
Yeah, so I think I do need to talk more to Jim Sigafus. I think what we spoke about was trying to do e-blast out question and answers on the Hideaway Hills e-blast and Facebook that might have, what people are asking about with regard to the assessment increase. I need to have somebody on management involved in that to give proper numbers, so we're not giving bad information out. So anything would have to be run by Jim or someone in management that he suggests before we put it out there but if anybody has questions that they think the community wants to hear back on regarding the assessment increase, I would appreciate you sending those to me, Annie, or Jim, and we'll try and start sending out some question answer kind of things through the Hideaway Hills site and e-blast. And then I do think there is a subcommittee that wants to call particularly weekenders because they think our weekender votes will make a significant difference in the outcome. So I think that's about it for right now.
Are you thinking about any in-person meetings or open fora or things of that nature?
We talked about that, but given the last couple assessment increases and the way they were run, they really didn't have much attendance. So I think we were leaning away from doing those.
Okay.
Jim, I mean, I think you think back to the dam assessments, we had 2 or 3 of those, and they were all hugely attended. And these last, Jim Kirk had 3 of those, I think, last year, and they were marginally attended. I'm not opposed to having maybe one before the meeting to give people a chance to answer questions that aren't on technology or reading, but they just weren't largely effective last time. So like the dam,
Yeah,
we had, people came in, they wanted to see what the dam's gonna look like and ask questions.
Right. Well, and I was thinking possibly we could even, rather than having, an open forum, we could just we could do a broadcast, where.
Look at it again, I'm pretty sure we got
We do a video, answer questions, people type questions in, we try to, try to come up with the answers.
I was going to start the process with the president's report this month as well, and say, don't forget, we backed off twice, but it was only because we were concerned about the COVID-19 stuff, but we are serious and we are going forward, and we'll be sharing with you, what things we need and how we're going to go forward.
I think that, we want to get as much information to people as possible, but, to do so effectively that not just have a meeting for 5 people show up. We got to have a meeting.
We did that several times. Yeah.
That's way to broadcast it and watch it. That's what we'll do. Let's go live on YouTube and answer questions.
Yeah, we could do that as well. Any other thoughts, questions? Let me know what we can do. I mean, if you need more people to do it and part of it. And how are you doing for volunteers? Are you getting us?
You remember how many we had, Mary Beth? Maybe 4?
We had 4 volunteer to do the phone calls. We had some volunteer to walk around and deliver flyers or stuff envelopes. I think 2 people. There wasn't like people pounding down the door to volunteer to help with it. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right.
Jim, during the dam asking the dam assessment, the phone call seemed to be what really swung things. Am I wrong or not?
I think people in that process thought it was pretty doggone helpful.
Yeah.
But then the last time, the response was that a lot of people obviously people have cell phones and they don't pick up calls regularly, and then secondly that they just didn't feel that people were all that receptive to it either. It was thought. That's my recollection with
Yeah,
what you guys had shared. It just didn't.
What I heard was that they were feeling pressured by the phone calls to vote yes versus it being an informative phone call. So it could have been the script that was different. I don't know. I don't know what the script was like during the dam, but
The script was pretty positive.
Yeah.
Damn.
Back at that time, social media wasn't near as active
As
it is now.
Yeah.
I think probably people are more apt to get information from Facebook and neighbors of Hideaway Hills, blah, 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 as opposed to a phone call. That's my thought.
So let's embrace social media. Let's have a group, put things out there, put topics out there in accordance with the assessment, and be there to answer those questions so that you can control, make sure things don't get out of hand, right, with or some crazy rumors and stuff. So make sure we have factual information going out on that. I like Jim's idea of the YouTube Live. I think there's ways that people can type in a message while we're online and ask questions that way. But let's embrace social media. Let's embrace Facebook and see if get the word out that way too.
We do have we have the club Facebook page.
Club
which
Facebook is a waste because there's no commenting on it, and it really you'll have to use Joe's Facebook page, and if you want to get a hold of anybody.
Well, I agree. I think
and you want to get feedback.
It was a good idea for us to have a Facebook page, but the fact that there's no interaction, it's all it is an email.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to go and interact with our community, and the fact of the matter is, a lot of our community is on Facebook. So let's embrace it.
900 plus members on Neighbors of Hideaway Hills. Or subscribers, I guess you'd call it.
contributing their pictures to facial recognition software. Every one of them. So let's go after that. We can talk about further about I mean, you're right, whether it's how do we get people to ask us the questions that we think need to be answered. And that's a good question. All right. Linda, Club Lots Ad Hoc Committee Status Report.
We had a meeting, it was close to a week ago. One of the, probably the most important things that came out of the meeting was a review of the survey that had been completed by the other lake associations in Ohio. It was interesting. It was rather dated. It was a 2015. But what was noteworthy was that out of all 18 associations, there was only one other one that had private wells and private septics. That lake community is much smaller, and they only have 186 homes versus our, at this point, 707 homes. All the other lake associations at least had public water, and then there were 3 that also had private septics, but there was only Hideaway Hills and this other smaller community that had both private wells and private septics. So I think we have some more exploring to do, and then eventually this ad hoc committee will make some kind of recommendation to the board. And perhaps part of that will be to expand our view of our community and try to figure out exactly what we want to do in terms of development. And again, part of what we're looking at as a community is not just our club-owned lots, but the fact that we have roughly 427 privately owned lots that could be built upon. So that's a lot. And I think we need to look at what our infrastructure can withstand and how we want to look and feel as a community. So that's really all I have to share.
And to refresh me, you've actually reached out to the counties and to the health departments, and we're going to the county engineers as well to see if they have any standards that they have regarding the type of things we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the members of our committee, Jim, is going to contact the Fairfield County engineer, who used to be a part of 2LMN, and see and get some sense from them about our topography, what we can support in terms of private water and private septics, et cetera. Well, there was one other. We're looking at community development organizations and trying to reach out to them, but I haven't heard anything since our meeting. I think the member that was looking at that hasn't responded back yet.
Okay. Yeah, there's a community improvement association from Hocking County that we've already reached out to. Right. According to their charter and their website, they're supposed to be involved in these sorts of issues as well and assisting people with development issues. So regional planning.
We just haven't heard back. I know that JJ was trying to work with them and probably hasn't got a response yet.
All right.
Are we selling? I just wondered, sort of in line with that, Linda, are we selling more lots as far as Hideaway Hills at this point? I think we talked about not selling them. Are we still doing that or not?
I think for temporarily, we have a moratorium on selling them. So I know that Randy has shown a few lots. We don't have any offers, and we have not sold any additional lots.
Okay, we've not voted on a moratorium. Randy shows a few lots, and we literally have only a few lots left in Hideaway Hills that are club lots. And I asked him to just slow down and not take any offers until we had a time to talk further about this. This was all inspired by our discussion of the Beaver Lane and the watershed lots and those things. So no, there's no official moratorium. But again, when we talked with Randy, there's only a few lots that he's even, and you know, he will just get a random call from somebody that says, you know, that I'm interested and can you take me around? And that's what we have. The private lots, of course, we have no control over. So, but we haven't had any offers, and so we're just not pushing them hard right now while we go through it. That's sort of, we just had that discussion on that. And again, we went through, Linda and I sat down with Randy to look at the lots that he has, and we'll be happy to share them. There's just a few of them that are left. And
so let's raise the price of the lots. If we only have a few resources left and we want to slow down development, let's raise the price of the lots.
Sure.
And then when we do sell a lot, I mean, Scott, this is really your idea. You were the one that mentioned it to me, and I thought it was a good idea. That's one way supply and demand to go into control.
That's what I would say. And everybody else's lots will go up with our lots, and they won't sell them for building lots either.
yeah, it really is it's a problem with very small numbers. I mean, because the lots, I think there's probably only 3 or 4 locations.
How many lots did we get from Frank Panacea?
We sold quite a few of Frank.
Already, we sold those?
Yeah, we've sold quite a few lots in the last 3, 4 years. Frank's got a couple of them that are sitting on Hideaway Hills Lane. They're really steep. They're against, they'd be north of Tomahawk, and they'd be on the side of the road there. Those are a couple Panacea lots. It's on the website. And then there's a couple of them that are back by Bora Hill, which are, again, after you come in Bora Hill, they'd be up on the left-hand side. And maybe one of them, there's 3 together, and maybe one of them would be a place where somebody could put them.
I think there's 3 lots also, as you come in and the front gate turn left, and right there where the temporary gate is, or the emergency gate on the main road on Taos, or I guess that's Cato at that point. That whole hillside, I thought there was 3 lots that we took back. You know what I'm talking about, Randy?
Yeah, I show them lots from time to time. They're pretty steep.
I wouldn't count them as unbuildable. I happen to know those because I remember we took them back, and I thought, well, they ought to be sellable. They're really, to me, they look like pretty good lots. Is there 3 or 2?
There's 3.
Well,
So
the question was,
just to clarify, we talked about this at the last meeting. We've sold 38 lots in the last 5 years.
If you were talking to me, I could only hear.
We sold 38 lots in the last 5 years.
There's a lot of lots listed on the lots for sale on the club website.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of 3-lot parcels that, well, not a lot, 8 3-lot parcels, 6, 7 more 2-lot parcels.
Do we have a list price on those, or do we have an asking price on this?
It doesn't say on this. Let me see on my phone here. It does not. Let's call the office.
well, I think the question is, I mean, they're on the market currently. Randy was showing them even as of last week. We weren't having any real action at this point. We have a couple people who've talked to him about it. And so if there's an offer, then we can respond to that. I think, we sat down with Randy and went through them, and he gave us, I mean, the letter of those lists came all the way back from the Jim Palmer days. And it's never been, and that's part of what we were doing with this this analysis that we're doing right now is to look at those and see, which ones we want to keep, because there's some on there that we do want to keep. Or streams are running through them, the ones that are up there, they just are, they are watershed lots and the like. It would be my opinion that we would want to keep them, not being that I'm the decision maker on that. So that's what we did, was just ask Randy to slow walk it for a while we got our arms around it. Because of the questions that came in when we were looking at the Beaver Lane. I mean, I didn't have any answers when we were talking about it, because the one is clearly watershed, and we're going to have it. That's where Beaver runs right through it, and it was the one we were talking about putting the sediment trap on, and Randy's working on that to get that easement on it, which makes it unbuildable, because we'd have first. We would be the ones that he can't build on it if we're going to build a sediment trap. So that's literally where we're at. And then this whole idea was to get our arms around it. We can have Randy come back and analyze, if you wish, to have him take a look at those lots and do that. We've done that some. We've gone through a number of them already. And but again, then it still doesn't. It still begs the question which Linda is asking, which is, with all septic and simply groundwater, how many more houses do we want here in Hideaway Hills? And I think that's sort of one of the overarching questions is, if you add another 10%, what will the impact of that be?
And what we cannot account for, and I don't know how we would possibly alter, is that we have 427 different lots that could be built upon that are privately owned. So that's the those are the wild cards out there. And a lot of the club-owned lots, the ones that I've looked at anyway, and I know Annie, you've looked at some of them also, and we created a little bit of a spreadsheet that we haven't finished yet. But most of them, quite a few of them, are watershed lots with large ravines that water flows through. Some of them to Lake Arrowhead, some of them to Lake of Four Seasons. So do we cut off our nose to spite our face to try to sell these club-owned lots when we can control that, whether or not we do sell them or we don't? But the lots that are privately owned that could be built upon, we can't control, and there's about 427 of them. That's a lot.
Well, how do we want to approach this? I mean, we got this group that's looking at them right now. We can bring an update at the next board meeting to discuss this further. If we get an offer, we can review that offer at the time it comes in.
We've never really pushed them. It's just when people call in. I mean, we haven't advertised them or anything like that.
Right.
We're not really doing much different than what we've been doing.
That's correct.
But there are some lots on here that I hate to see us turn down money, I guess is what I'm saying. I agree with the watershed lots and the green space and all that. But on the other, $4,000 right now is a pretty good chunk of money. And then another 230, I hope.
Are all the lots priced the same versus, I know the 2-lot parcels are more, the 3-lot parcels are more, but otherwise, are they all priced the same, or are they priced as which ones would be more desirable and easily built upon?
Randy, why don't you speak to that, how you do that?
Here's what I'm telling people: single lot 7,500, double lots 10,000, and a 3-parcel lot is 12,000. The only difference is the pond lot back at the on Alpine, which we're asking 20, and that's what I was instructed by the board to do.
That was when there were the 2 lots that were right next to each other, and we wanted to save one as lake access for the club, and then the other one would be 20,000.
Well, I would.
It's three-quarter of an acre, so it's not a bad lot.
I would like to add, if a private owner sells a lot, we get a new member, we get membership fees, and we also get dues. The only thing that we don't get is the price to sell the lot. So we still get new members. We still have additional assessments. So I don't know.
We don't get additional assessments, they're already paying assessment, all we get is a new member fee. That's the only thing that changes.
Except for there's some that were grandfathered
Yeah,
in.
very few of those, I think.
There's a few more than.
There's more than a few. There's over, oh gosh, I would guess over 20. And then some of the individuals are just paying a portion of an assessment. So if we sell it to a new person, there would be the new member fee as well as the assessment, which would probably be different than the assessment that they're currently paying.
But we have that information.
Sure.
Yeah, we have that information.
I kind of agree with Eric, raise the prices on them if you want to slow down the sales of them, and then even get more money, or maybe they don't sell until, let the market determine that.
Not averse to that.
I go for that too.
I think those prices have been the same for quite some time.
Certainly this.
And the houses lots are going to be built on more because there's such a low inventory of homes for sale in the hills right now that people aren't being able to find what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it goes back to the question she's posing, which is, do you want this community to become that saturated?
I don't know what is that saturated until I see.
Lots, we can only control club-owned lots. That's
Sure.
what she's saying, so.
We did find out from the county that if you were building a lot or building a home out in the county, not into this already platted area, that they recommend that you have, if you're going to do septic, that you have to have 1.8 acres of land to put.
Oh, yeah, I realize, they never let us build Hideaway Hills.
No.
It is current.
Agreed.
But we're not sure until we get some engineering reports what the saturation level is.
That's true.
And that's something.
But in the meantime, I was just thinking we could raise the prices to slow down naturally the sales of the lots. I don't know what those prices.
I was going to say, what's that number then?
Double them. You want me to throw out a number? I would double them.
Well, Randy, you said 7,500 for one. 10, 15, and 20?
I don't think we need to decide that right.
I don't either, and that's certainly something to think about.
Just leave it alone for the time being. They're buying them, or we're not really pushing selling them, but if somebody comes in and wants to buy one, we vote on it. We've done it.
No, we don't vote now. They're priced and then they sell.
And that's what I mean, yeah.
No, we always vote on them.
Oh, do we vote to sell them?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Any club lot is brought here to be.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought Randy just sold the lots at the prices that he told people.
No.
Well,
the board always does.
I think we have more work to do before we make any kind of a recommendation, other than slow walking this. I personally would like a temporary suspension of selling the lots until we can get some kind of report from the engineer, something that helps us with level of saturation. I would add to that, though, you may not be very happy if we, let's say, eventually we have water and we have sewer. Well, we can build right on top of one another. Of course, that would cost us $10 to $15 million. But then we could build right next to one another and it wouldn't be a problem. But what you wouldn't have is the environment that you currently have of green spaces, of, the trees, and a little bit of room to stretch and breathe. So all of this has trade-offs. I don't know that selling our club lots is a big money maker for us. But part of this is everyone has to decide, where do you want to live? What do you want your home to look like, your community?
I don't like the lake getting too crowded. That's sort of my concern with adding more and more and more people is the traffic on the lake. And I know we got, there was noise concerns from residents recently too. So that's where I sort of come at what you're talking about, Linda.
Well, we had what, 930 boats that had decals this past year now, or this current year. And realize, I think Jim Sigafus brought this up, that a lot of those decals were canoes or kayaks, but nonetheless, that's a lot of watercraft. And they aren't all out at the same time. God for, wouldn't be able to move if they were, but I think the point is we're stretching our infrastructure because we love it here. More people are coming. We have to look at what we can't control, and that's the privately owned lots. And then look at what we can control, and that's the club owned lots. That's what I keep coming back to.
Okay, well, and we're already at 9 o'clock. Let's bring this, let's stay with my proposal, I guess, is just we continue where we're at. We can look at a study or look, in a month's time, we'll see how much more information we've been able to gather. The list is still on the website. Randy, if somebody gets really aggressive, then you can come back to us and tell us what they're looking at and what the price is. Certainly, we don't want you to drop any prices. Don't bring in any proposals that would be less than what's out there currently. But that would be my proposal tonight would be no additional action until we get more information and we look into that. We get a little more from the engineers as well as from the committee. Anybody disagree with that?
Just do what we've been doing.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. All right. Very informative. Good deal. Here's a nice one. Randy, you want to take this one? This is lot 2067 acquisition. And I do have to do a mea culpa. The last meeting I wrote 2076 acquisition, and the person who owns 2076 was rather surprised that we were talking about acquiring her property, especially since she was in the process of selling that property. So it just got worse. So the question was not for everybody, and for the record, what I wrote last time of 2076 was a mistake. It's 2067, and 2067 is the water lot that runs right there on Yana Lane, just past the North Park. Randy, you want to discuss where we're at with that?
Yeah, that Durbin Run is the watershed that feeds the Lake of the Four Seasons, and it runs right past that lot. As a matter of fact, that lot is part of that. And so several years ago, we had a member come to us and was willing to trade some lots for that one and another one that was close to their home, and the board approved that. So basically, several years now. It does have a well on it, no septic. So it belonged to a member before the club took it back at some point, and then the club decided to give it to these folks in trade for a couple others that were better buildable lots. So anyway, she's had this lot for sale for probably, well, since her husband passed away there last year. And then it came up at one of the board meetings, or while we were discussing lot sales, why don't we attempt to take that back? So the realtor that was handling that came to me and said, what's this all about? And so I told her, and so she went back to the member that owns that lot, and the member said that she would be willing to give that lot back to the club for costs. Costs meaning the realtor fee, which, as I found out, it was $500. Plus, then you'd have the recording and the deeds. And my estimation, it's probably going to be under $1,000 in order for the club to take that lot back.
So you're basically asking for a motion from us to, for up to $1,000 to be able to purchase or transfer the lot 2067, which is a watershed lot, back to the club. And then we would make it a watershed lot and never put it up for sale again.
Correct.
Second.
You're first.
I'm first.
Tim has made the motion to, for up to 1,000 to acquire 2067. Jim Lloyd seconds. Have you guys seen it? Have people been by it to see where it is? Yeah. I mean, I think to me, this is a real no-brainer. Have we had any other questions? All right, all in favor of up to 1,000 for lot 2067, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to abstain.
You abstain. That'll be fine. So it passes 7-0 with one abstention. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So that one goes. Good deal. Let's go on to the e-votes. You guys all have them in front of you, and all of these are 8-0 votes. Starting on May 30, e-vote the social committee to extend their HAH online sales fundraiser an additional week ending June 7. 8-0. Please, and then 6-1, please e-vote for the food truck policy. 8-0. 6-3, please e-vote to pay out of the Lakes Committee funds $171.60 to Sue Pyle for a blue light for the security boat and $81 to Osborne Associates for Lake of Four Seasons signs. On 6/3/20, e-vote to pay $1,995 from Chapel Committee funds for ministers and music for June and July. On June 4, an e-vote to approve the golf committee to take down a tree on the number 5 tee box. An e-vote to pay Logan Monument $122.27 from golf committee funds for a plaque. 6/10, e-vote to approve a fundraiser that was offered to Health and Wellness Committee from member Christopher Keller. June 13th, an e-vote for the Social Committee to sponsor a hole-in-one golf tournament and contribute money to the Beach Sand Project. And 14/20, e-vote to reimburse Dave Rowe $27.43 for a new post tray for the tennis court, a tie down for the nets, and then also some weed spray on the courts. All these were 8-0. May I have a motion to approve the e-votes?
So moved.
So moved by Tom Matthews.
Second.
Second by Scott Martin. Any further discussion on any of these? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on. Boneyard security, Annie.
I think Mary Beth actually wanted this one.
Okay.
Sorry. I know I put it out there.
Yeah, I don't know that we're prepared to talk about it. What I had wondered is if we could come up with a list of people that had had things stolen from the boneyard, items over the past several years, to show members. As part of the assessment increase, we had talked about potentially fencing in or somehow adding some security for people over at the boneyard, and haven't been able to do that because of the assessment not going through. So I think probably what we'll need to discuss, as you know, when we're answering questions on the assessment increase, is discuss partially that boneyard security. And I thought it would be helpful to come up with actual data on what has been stolen from there over the last couple of years at least. I know we've seen incident reports come in, and I just think to show members in a more tangible manner what's happening would probably be influential. So that's really.
Randy, how difficult would that be?
It would be a matter of going back to the last several years of incident reports to see exactly the things that were stolen from there. That would be quite a job.
Do you just have the incident report on file in the office, Randy?
Yes,
Okay, so I could come over and do that and save you the trouble?
absolutely.
There you go.
Just let me know when. I'll put it all together for you, and you can go.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many years would you want, Mary Beth?
How many do you think it'll take to show people we got a problem over there?
Probably 5.
All right. I think
All right.
that's one of the areas where security is a problem. So I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
All right. You're okay then? That's enough?
It's enough for me.
All righty. Mr. Weibel, e-vote protocol.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up tonight. I don't even know if everybody here knows exactly what transpired here earlier, about 3-4 weeks ago, but I submitted an e-vote to Linda for a social committee request, and basically the e-vote never did get submitted. There's board members that didn't even know it existed. There were some board members that were contacted and it was discussed with, but not all board members were contacted. I just don't feel like this is proper protocol for how an e-vote request is supposed to happen. And I just like to know what, I don't think it should ever happen again. I think it shows favoritism, exclusivity, and it's very non-transparent.
Okay, I'll take that one on. And this was a request for the concerts. When I saw that the concerts, when the e-blast went out, which said that basically that we were canceling the concert because the singer wasn't going to be able to or didn't want to perform, I contacted the head of the social committee and said, I think you need to look at what the rules are right now, because having concerts, is clearly not allowed. It's restricted in the current rules. And so then what occurred was a proposal came in, and I shared it with him, the rules and the like of, again, this was on me who started this process, Tim, nobody else. I did this, I reached out to him and said they're not allowed, and the only thing that they're sort of looking at for large groups are weddings. So what we then got was a proposal, which Tim submitted to Linda, which said that they wanted permission to have weddings or renewing vows, and we would have concerts the same evening. Linda sent it to me and said, have you heard about this? And I said, only because I was the one who reached out to Mike to inform him what the situation was. And that's where it came from, was that Mike came back with it. I said at first, wasn't sure that it was a serious request in terms of what it was, that we were going to have weddings right with our concerts. And that was a discussion that Linda and I had at that time. And so what I did, and what I was concerned about, I didn't want to send something out for an e-vote, which could potentially be illegal. So I went and sought out legal advice on this issue, my decision, before I would send an e-vote out that would potentially put the club in a difficult position by proposing something and getting everybody all excited about it when it was going to be illegal. And so I chose to do that. I talked to our attorney, and he looked at it, and he felt similarly that it was not going to be possible to do it. So that was what happened with it. So there was a conversation with Linda and I. And shortly after I had that conversation, I called you.
Only because I sent an email to Linda.
You did, but I was going to call you anyway because I just literally had just finished up that afternoon, because it took, it takes a while sometimes to get our attorney to return calls, especially in the current sense. And you did, yes. There was one other conversation that Annie had with Mike Burnside, which which was part of the process, and I understood that, and I apologize to you for that. That was probably out of order. The idea of me and Linda talking about it, getting legal advice, and then coming back to you, I don't think is wrong.
And I think we're talking about a couple different issues. I have no problem with the fact that, and I told you this in our personal conversation, the e-vote request was probably never going to happen. But I still think it should have been given an opportunity for all the board members to at least know that this e-vote was out there. And if you were going to call Annie and ask her what her...
I did not call.
Okay. I think, did he call you, Tom?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I did call Tom.
Did he talk to Jim Lloyd about it? Indirectly, from what I hear.
Yeah, when I called you on something else.
That's right.
But that was before I knew anything about an e-vote.
Well,
That was before the e-vote.
My whole point is, Jim, I think when another situation like this occurs, regardless of how ridiculous the e-vote request is, it needs to be communicated to the entire board.
It was a ridiculous request.
I don't
We
either.
were going to have a wedding, weddings are allowed, and it really sounds like you were making choices on.
No, what I did was suggested to the social committee, if they wanted to go forward with it, to go forward to the health department and get an opinion from them of what we were doing. Rather than, because Spangler, our attorney said to me that they are stepping up enforcement activities. And I didn't think that it would be appropriate to put the club in the position of, come on.
So it could have gone, the vote could have gone out saying, hey, I think this, there's a sub-note that we are checking with our attorney to see this is available or see this is an option, but here's an e-vote from concerning social committee that they would like to want to go forward with this, but we are checking with our legal department to see if this is possible. I think that probably would have been, it gives the appearance that you were deciding, or you and Linda are deciding what we're going to get.
No, I did not. I went back to Mike and said to him,
It's the appearance.
Okay. We are talking in a really short time frame here. This is not something that went on for very long.
But if it was at a real meeting, Tim would have made the motion, and I would have seconded, maybe or Eric or somebody else, and then we would have had discussion, and that's the way...
to be honest with you, I didn't think it was meant to be e-voted at all. I also said that. I said this is not something that should be handled in an e-vote, and that would have happened. And in between that time, because again, I talked to Mike Burnside and said, let's bounce this off. Let's see if this will fly. If not, we have a concert series we've announced, and suddenly now we're having weddings. Come on, And so the point is, I would have been happy if you'd have brought this up in this meeting tonight, and okay, so we could, we can send the e-vote around next time and say, let's have the meeting or have it in an open meeting, and we can do it right now. I'm fine with that. I don't think that was an e-vote.
That's fine, Jim, but you made that decision along with Linda, I think, without consulting anyone else in this room, basically. I don't think that that's the way things should work.
We're having the conversation right now.
We are now, 3-4 weeks after the fact.
If you look at the e-vote,
I want to back up a minute. I think we have to use good judgment when we go to put an e-vote out. That's one thing. Sometimes, and I've gotten a few e-votes, and I went ahead and went forward with them, but I think sometimes, and I've been told before by several people in the room there, that this isn't a proper discussion for an e-vote. It should come to the board. So when I first saw that, I'm like, this doesn't sound right. So
why didn't you contact me immediately?
Tim, let me finish. I was worried that it might not be legal. And then my second thought was, well, this shouldn't be an e-vote, period. It should go to the board. But we ended up where we ended up, and you sent me a nasty gram, and I didn't appreciate it. There was no offense toward you, Tim, and I try to do these emails the best that I can do them and field them as quickly as possible. But please understand that I've been told before that some things should not be e-voted, that there should be discussion. And there is nothing wrong with making certain that before we vote on something and then have to resend the vote and have it as part of our record, that we check on the legality of it first.
I'm not arguing that at all, Linda. I just don't think it was handled properly. If you would have sent me an email immediately and said, I'm gonna run this by with Jim, and then we're gonna run it by our attorney, Jeff, I would have been fine with that. But to leave me hanging for 2 or 3 days, fuming about not being communicated with, being treated like a second-class citizen, and then just certain members of
I am
the
sorry
board
you
being
felt that way,
communicated with, but not
Tim.
everyone.
Tim, I am sorry you
That's
felt that way, but that wasn't the case. Okay? So from, I guess, my thought is, if we're going to bring something for an e-vote, we need to make certain that it's really cut and dried so that there aren't any issues out there that look like they might be a legal snafu or some kind of an ethical issue. If we have those kind of e-votes, they sail through. I don't talk to anyone. I don't ask any questions. I send out the e-vote. But when you get an e-vote like that, that was a red flag. Now, maybe the way that you suggested would have been better. And for that and my part in it, I apologize. But Tim, don't dress me down in an email. You don't treat colleagues like that. So if, you know, it's a tit for tat.
So can we come up with a policy? I mean, we've got this out.
What is the policy?
We've aired it. I don't, maybe we can, the guys have been here a long time, when you guys first came
No,
out with the e-vote.
there isn't a policy. If you want to create one, great. I don't have a problem with that. But it's not a fun job to have. But I don't mind.
We should come up with some policy because like even the food truck thing, that was shoved through and people vote on it real quick. And then, if you're one of the last people to see it, then, and you have questions, it's already passed. So things that have a lot of, if it's reimbursing someone, it seems appropriate for an e-vote. If we're passing a new policy, like on a food truck or something like that, it seems like we should have a discussion. Now, I know that got voted through 8-0. I get it, and I'm in support of it. But that's an example of something I think that got sort of shoved through. And we should have been meeting and talking about it because there's a lot of unanswered questions with it.
Policy,
Have a policy.
discuss having a policy.
Well, I think that's, I mean, Greg and Jim, you guys were more involved in the development of the e-votes and what they were
Well,
intended.
I don't think Greg was at all, because Bucky's the one who set it up and I was.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be strictly honest with you. I did not like it when Greg said that the vice president does it. And here's a perfect example. I know the president's got a lot to do, but we managed to get through and get it done. If you'd have seen that e-vote and called Tim and said, this, or not seen it, I mean, if he'd have sent it to you for an e-vote, you'd have called Tim and said, man, I gotta check this out. Bingo.
That's all I
That's communication between you and him. But, when all of a sudden the vice president's getting all these e-votes and then they hand them to the president and, I'm not like.
Well, I mean, okay, so the difference there would be, I looked at it and thought, in my mind, this is problematic. I didn't call Tim to tell him it was problematic. I mean, because Linda sent it to me, and Linda was not part of it. So I called our attorney to see what he thought, whether we should even go down this road. And so that, after I was able to get back with Jeff, I called Tim. At the same time as Tim indicated, he'd written an email, but those were happening basically in the same time frame.
I thought it was 2 or 3 days before, he sent it to Linda, and it was 2 or 3 days before anybody got back to him. And had this not gone to Linda and then to you.
Yeah, but.
I mean, I'm not gonna say change to that, but, I can see a screw up like this coming the day that it was put in, and I wasn't in favor of it, and I told Greg that. But, as it's worked real well for 2 years. It's just, you should be there, that email should go to the president, because you're the one that would make a decision immediately on that. And then you'd pick up the phone. It happened while I was president. People would send something for an e-vote. And I see it right now, and it's a red flag.
Why don't we just copy? Send it to Linda and copy you.
That'll work.
I don't care, but I just.
That's fine. I mean, for me, the aspect is, like you said, there's a lot of things that you're doing, and you're doing it on an ongoing basis.
I think that this has been avoided so easily if it would have just been a fairly quick response back to me saying, Tim, we don't like this, we got to talk to our attorney, and we're not going to submit this until we can have further discussion. Done deal. But I'm stewing for 48 to 72 hours, wondering what the heck's going on. That's all I'm saying, Jim.
Okay.
I don't think it should ever happen again.
Okay. I mean, again, that's okay. I don't know that I agree with you, but I can live by that. Because I don't think the time frame was that difficult of a time frame, and I thought, frankly, it was. I said when I got it, I wasn't even sure that it was serious. I thought it was a joke when I got it from Mike, because I was the one who said to him about the only thing you can do is weddings. And so then I saw that, and and that was my.
To be honest with you, when you told Mike that he kind of got the green light to say, well, I'm going to go with that.
I know. They called me the next morning asking me if I would officiate it.
So it seems like everybody knew about it.
I didn't know it was going up for an e-vote. I just know they called me and asked me if I would officiate. I didn't know anything about any of this e-vote stuff until later on I talked to him about it.
I think it all comes down to proper communication.
Linda and I will make sure that I see anything that's, the least bit controversial. And okay. I understand. I hear you loud and clear.
Yep, thank you.
I do. I hear you loud.
If we're still talking about e-votes, if I get an e-vote toward the end of the day, it may not go out until the next day. And if I have 1 or 2 e-votes prior to that e-vote that I received that afternoon, the ones who come in first go out first. I try to work it like that, and I try to have not more than 1 e-vote out at a time. Greg Patassin actually said, if you don't do that, e-votes get confused. So I try to live by that and send 1 out at a time, which may cause a little bit of a backlog, especially prior to a board meeting. And I would like to add this, for the people who are doing the e-votes, such as myself, it is a problem to try to get e-votes out and back and everything all tabulated and sent in for e-votes that try to occur the weekend before the board meeting. And I'd like to request that I get e-votes no later than Saturday, because it's a problem for me.
I agree that sometimes there's e-votes of stuff that's going to be, there's no reason to have them in that time limit. E-vote came up because we have so much committee business that has to take place between meetings.
Right.
We have people asking for e-votes for stuff that's not even up till October. We can do that in a regular meeting and save all this emails for stuff that needs to be done in a timely fashion.
Yeah. And getting people reimbursements and things like that.
Right.
Maybe that should be part of our policy.
Maybe Eric should write a policy. I would think that would be a good thing for him to do.
Well, let Linda and I talk. We'll think about this, and we'll come up with it. Obviously, we're in the crosshairs on this one, and.
But having run the e-vote, I can see where Tim is a little bit disturbed, and it's just a matter of if like I've had them where I'm going to hold back because I got three people on e-vote now. And I'll get back to the one who submitted it and say, I'm not going to submit that for a couple of days until I get this other one done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, yeah, send the person who requests an e-vote an email if you're not going to do it right away.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
Linda's done that for me several times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I've already got 2 out, it'll be a day or 10. So
Okay. So we'll codify it. We'll get it into, we'll get some, policy together, and I don't know, it certainly wouldn't need to be a rule, but we can do that. All right. Thanks, Tim. appreciate it. I appreciate clearing the air on it. All right, old business Hodge Deck project update. I'm waiting for, Woodrum is working on the remediation proposal. As soon as I get it, I'll share it with you. We did, whatchamacallit, Eric, it was a good question, the recommendation about cleaning up the rebar. It's all been cut off now. Matt's got the whole thing, several of the holes are gonna have to be added on to. I can share with you what's there, but they're in the wrong place, and there's some other issues with them that we have to have. So Woodrum has that. He's got a full set of the copies. As soon as he gets me a proposal back, we'll bring it.
So the guy that put the foundations in, you have been in contact with him?
Not since I told him I was unhappy with him.
Okay.
Not since then.
So is Woodrum now heading up the project, or is it still?
It's going to be Mark Truman and Matt Woodrum are going to do this as well, depending upon what comes back. You know, obviously with that, they were the ones who were going to do the carpentry all along.
Right.
So the foundation was going to be done, but the principal for the foundation is not here in Central Ohio.
So Matt's getting you a cost on remediating what's currently there.
That is correct. That is correct. He has a full set of prints now with the remediation, which has been signed by the structural engineer.
You have a ballpark on what you're thinking
I don't know.
5,000, 10,000?
I'm hoping it's a lot less than that, Eric, but I don't know how much energy or how much work Woodrum's going to see in terms of, because he's going to have to basically enlarge the current holes. He's going to have to do it. I'll send you the pictures if you wish of what remediation is required. I've got the plans. I can just copy them. The plans are 66 pages long. I know you don't want to see 66, but I do. The remediation itself is about 3 or 4 pages that I can send you. I can send the board that you can take a look at that. Architectural Control Committee rule changes approval. That's in your packet. Oh, they've been in the echo. We've talked about them twice here. If there's any, we can approve them, and we followed all of our rules. If there's further questions about them before we approve them. And I did not mean to preclude your ability to. You're
using the assumptive.
You're absolutely, your point was well taken. It was well taken.
Yeah, I have some questions about these architectural rules.
Okay.
This temporary erosion control measures, who's in charge of that? Who knows what temporary erosion control measures need to be taken? How's that going to be, who's going to inspect this or has the knowledge to require things in different lots or situations? That seems like a big can of worms to get into. Like if you did it in the city in Columbus, they probably got a whole department for that that'll come out and tell you what exactly you have to do.
It's the Department of Health.
But we don't have that here in Hideaway Hills. We don't have any inspections at all. I just think it's more than what I mean, I can understand what the thought behind it and to try to keep sediment out of the lakes, but I just don't see it as a rule that we should add it.
You need 2 bales of hay or 3 bales of hay.
Yeah, you know, so there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you see it on every commercial job site, basically, in some residentials, but nobody knows. I mean, I've been building stuff my whole life, and I don't know anything about it. I'd have to research it, I suppose, but there's going to be no one that enforces it.
Randy, do you have any thoughts on that? Randy?
Yeah, I'm here. I was muted there. I was listening. This is something put together by the Architectural Control Committee. I would assume that they would be the ones that would do the inspections on this.
I would assume that that is correct. As a matter of fact, I have heard some discussion on that. So, yeah. And I don't think it's anything elaborate. I think it is just trying to hold down the wash that goes into the ditches that then may go into the watershed. And I think it's pretty straightforward. And like you said, I think it was Scott that said this, you see it all the time, the hay bales, the stakes with the plastic, just trying to hold back whatever gravel, whatever comes up from the well being drilled, dirt. I think it is probably more common sense than anything.
I mean, I would be okay with a suggestion or a recommendation to do that, but I don't want to see it as a rule, and how we're going to enforce it as a rule.
What we do, there was a guy on Natchez who was putting in a deck or something, and there was mud coming down on Natchez, and I called Randy and complained about it, and he got on it. The contractor digging up there, and so this would have given Randy something to go back with.
But what would he have been able to tell him he had to do? Because Randy's not nothing against Randy, but I don't think he's a qualified engineer to tell him what he had to have in place.
He said, look at the rules, and if you don't stop the mud by doing this, I'll stop you. That's something.
I don't think you have to be an engineer to see that there's mud running across the road from a digging
Well,
site.
then maybe your rule should
And
say, don't let any of your mud run on the road. That's what you're after, you know. This is telling you to do this, that, or the other thing, but not any specific thing, and there's no way to really.
I would think maybe you might get an on-site inspection prior to any movement of earth, maybe, and they said, we want some stoppage here and some stoppage here, maybe.
From who? Transportation Control Committee is going to change from year to year, or, you know, time to time, different people. You're going to have qualifications on there that nobody on that committee may be qualified to do that.
I think like Linda said, some of it's common sense.
Some of it is common sense.
Just say, try something.
Try something, that's what I would say. Put it in as a recommendation, not as a rule.
And Randy doesn't have any control when it runs down across the road.
He doesn't, no.
But this,
I don't see how what if I put my bales of straw up there and the mud still goes out on the road? I mean, I can go, hey, look, I did what it says. You know, how, to what level? To me, it's just they're just making rule after rule. There's more here I don't like either. I thought the exterior colors already were submitted to the ACC. Am I incorrect there? Under the 200.01 permit application?
Yeah, I was confused why that was new.
I thought we were already, I mean, I've already always submitted colors for that.
And I
Is
think
it all exterior?
I think
Yeah,
this
go
goes to situations where you're repainting or re-siding
That's
and the
going
color.
down at,
Pardon me?
that's done at 200.2. As previously approved non-earth tone colors, for example, blue tones, will require resubmission for approval of color by ACC prior to repainting, re-siding, or re-roofing. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Well, some of the buildings that have non-earth tone colors, and I know, Scott, you will argue that earth tone can be blue, it can be whatever, but strictly speaking, that's not what our code says. And so they're
Well, strictly speaking, it can't go override our deed restrictions. Well, that doesn't have anything to say I can build a house, but I don't even think we should be talking about earth tones. That gets into too many different things, but it's not in communities where you do have color restrictions, they're in their deed restrictions. But if I've got approved to have my house blue, I'm never going to repaint it if you do. It's just going to peel off until forever. Why would I put an application in I know you're going to overturn?
Well, you're assuming that there's a.
paint peel off so you
Put
wouldn't
it
have
in there if there's no reason to not want blue. I mean, we went over
If somebody does do it, then we can get rid of the blue house. I think that's pretty straightforward.
They're in violation of not submitting their colors.
Oh. This requires them to submit that color if they're changing.
if they're keeping it the same, is what this says. If they're keeping it, if I'm repainting my blue house, another coat of blue on it, I gotta get it I gotta ask permission for it again. With the same color that has already been approved.
And depending on who's on ACC may not have approved it back then. Now we have new people on ACC.
Seems like there's zealots
and they
on
want
ACC right now that just want to make a bunch of rules. Where's the problems that we're having I can understand we maybe have some problem with that, but.
That's not the only occasion of that. That's why they're putting it in there.
What's not the only occasion?
Of erosion problems because of building is going on.
Well, I understand the erosion problems, I just don't understand how we can, the infrastructure of getting it done. The painting the house that's already been approved, I gotta reapprove my color that it's going right back to the same color that has been approved, another coat of the same colored
You
paint.
know why that's in there? Because the one that gets approved by an appeal, that they had no say in.
I don't care if they have a say or not, we're the board, that's the way the rule is. I mean,
I don't think that's.
there's other
That's
houses.
the way he wants somebody to talk to him about an ego. Why wouldn't you talk to the ACC about something that you're gonna override them? You never gave them a chance to talk. Yes, I am.
Well, I mean, the blue roof, it went through the rules, through the process. From the ACC, the lady went to the ACC, and then it went to the board, and then they appealed. You appealed to the board. Isn't that the current rule?
And the board, without all the facts, approved it.
What facts didn't we have?
Well, we didn't have all the facts as to the timing, when the roof was put on or when it was ordered. There were facts that weren't all brought forward. And I don't have it all in front of me, Scott. I understand you don't like rules, but we aren't going to have pink and magenta houses here. I'm sorry. And blue is not an earth tone, and earth tone has been in the ACC. Now, have there been lapses where things have been approved before that maybe shouldn't have been? Yeah. And this is to clarify that. And in regard to erosion, I think it's common sense when you're building. You're smart enough, you know that.
I guess on that 2200.02, I don't like the idea that ACC can approve something and then 5 years later, a different ACC, because that's reality, can decide, well, we don't like that. And then make somebody change their color or change.
It says previously approved non-earth tone colors. Their code already calls out that earth tone colors is what we have to use. So what they're calling out is that somebody got house, roof, whatever, painted in a non-approved tone, and they want to rectify it when that gets replaced or repainted.
And you're right, Scott, if they don't want to change it, then they just don't.
They don't repaint.
That's fine. That's their choice. That's their choice. It doesn't say they'll be outlawed. It will require resubmission for approval. It doesn't say that it would necessarily be denied.
Well, obviously, it will by this particular ACC committee, or they wouldn't have submitted this.
I think that's a
Have we
presumption.
defined what earth tone is and what it's not? So that, then it's not an issue. I don't know that we have, I think I know what earth tone is, but apparently I'm wrong on it. Not approved. So has that been?
It's just that.
Certainly colors. You got gray, light gray.
Tone is on page 9 of the ACC, and it is any of various muted colors ranging from neutral to deep brown, including some shades of red and green.
Red and what, green?
Green.
Green.
Yeah.
And that's already in their existing language?
Yeah, it's on page 9.
Okay.
If red and green are earth tone, so's blue. That's all I can say.
I wouldn't agree. Okay.
Shall we vote?
No. And if we We need a motion. We've already made the motion, obviously. We're in discussion right now. Any further discussion on any of the other points? We've had this out there for 3 times now. Been in the echo twice. No further discussion. Let's go for a vote. I will ask for a vote on the entire document.
We had a motion on that yet, Jim.
I don't know.
What's the motion or second?
I make a motion that we vote on these changes to the ACC document.
I'll second that.
Okay, Annie makes the motion that we approve the changes, and Scott has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mary Beth, is that an aye? And Linda, that's an aye?
Yes.
And Annie, it's an aye? All opposed?
Nay.
Tom, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Aye.
You ayed.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining. So at that point, it's a 4-3 with 1 abstention. Am I correct? Everybody got that right? Did I get the counting right? 4 ayes, 3 nays, and 1 abstention. Based upon that, the policy has been approved by the board. All righty, and we'll have to record that, I think. Do we record that, Randy, at the, no? ACC not. Okay, Greg is saying no. All right, moving along. Annie, do we have any new members?
Yes, Scott and Lori Fowler, lot 266. John C. and Carla R. Barno, lot 65. Brian K. James, lot 1664, 1665. Justin T. and Deneen M. Clark, lots 997, 1579, 1580, and 1580A. And Brad and Colleen Spees, lots 2076 and 2077. I make a motion that we accept these members.
Can I have a second? Second from Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Any additional business? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Scott moves to adjourn. A second? Tell me.
Oh, I can't do a second.
Second from Tom.
Are we still doing this? Yes.
Yeah, we're good. All three. Say aye. Boom. Thank you, everybody.
9:46.
We got to do better.
Well, we got a late start.
We did. We did.
We screwed up on this.
Randy, you can stop the recording at any time.
Oh, my God.
Greg, get a second.